The past 72 hours seem like a bad dream.
Paint me a picture of what it's like to be you.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks to all the subscribers that have just been joining recently. I've had a little influx of subscribers, which is cool. So if you want to leave comments on the videos to just add to what I've said already, or to contradict it, or to just add your own opinion, that'd be awesome. But thanks for watching the videos and for subscribing anyway. This is a special one I'm doing on the series of the trilogy of graphic novels by Rob Davis. Which is, I don't know what the collective term is. Could be the Motherless Oven books, could be the Book of Forks books, not sure. But 3 books that are absolutely amazing, I think, and quite unique and definitely worth talking about separately. I was thinking of doing another bunch of graphic novels in one, but I want to do this separately because I think they're so awesome and I think about them a lot, and I'm going to read them again. But on that note, big shout out to my friend Simon who lent them to me while I was recovering in hospital, because I didn't know about them until he lent them to me, and I just think they're amazing. So I'm going to start talking about the Motherless Oven first. So Motherless Oven, Rob Davis, those are the 3 main characters. I'll just tell you a little bit about the tone of the book and books before I get going about the characters and that. So it's very surreal, it's very absurdist. It's a graphic novel which is quite unique in its world building. Straight from the beginning, it's creating this world that's unlike our normal world, although there are some kind of parallels, but it kind of flips everything upside down. So, for example, instead of parents creating children, the children create their parents, and they create their parents using objects, like inanimate objects, and that's what their parents are made out of. Also, it rains knives, and everybody has a death day rather than a birthday. So that death day is literally the day that they're going to die. So in the main plot of the first book, the main character, Scarpa Lee, is the main character, the one in the middle. He has a death day. He's only got 3 weeks to live. So he's just a teenager. He's got 3 weeks to live, and that's kind of, he's wrestling with that all the way through the first book. Someone he just meets in school called Vera Pike, she kind of rescues him from the situation. His friend Castro is sort of mixed in with this adventure they go on. But mixed in with this is this kind of almost dystopian, absurdist world that's created. It's not wholly dystopian because it's not like an oppressive government that's got these specific rules, but it's got that kind of dystopian feel because the security force led by this old woman is kind of featured throughout the whole thing, and there's this sort of paranoia and fear of the police in it. So that kind of gives it a dystopian feel. There's also a kind of a satirical feel to it as well, because it's almost like parodying elements of our society that we take for granted, and the way that teenagers are forced to live under our rules and how their perspective of the world is kind of skewed by that. So it's kind of parodying that a little bit. So there's a bit of a satirical bent on it as well. But they go on this adventure, and the pace of the book and books is so sort of frantic and compelling that you don't realise how fast you're reading it, and it just goes through the story so quickly. It's amazing, really, really interesting, and the characters are really fully formed, and you do care for them. So Vera Pike's a bit of a rebel. And as I said, Scarpa Lee is kind of wrapped up in his worry about the death day, and Castro's a real outsider. So he's got issues. He talks about his issues. He's got kind of emotional issues, and he's got elements of his personality that makes him an outsider, which is explored more in the 3rd book. I'll talk about the other 2 books in a second, but these characters kind of obviously dominate the 1st book and their adventure trying to get out of this situation that they're in. But I don't want to say too much, but the whole world building element of it is really, really fascinating and quite unique and brilliant. So the 2nd book, The Can Opener's Daughter, delves a lot more into Vera Pike's story and her backstory about when she was growing up, and you can see that that's her mother there, and that sort of illustrates what I was saying about the children creating their parents from inanimate objects. And like I said, the first story with those three characters, kind of they're all tied together, but it's really good that Rob Davis chose to delve more into Vera Pike's story in this one, and it's quite consistent because then the third book is more about Castro. So you really get quite a different story with this one, and because she's got a different kind of personality, the tone of the book's different as well, which is really cool. So that is reflected in the way it's written. I love the way that he draws, like the way that the action in the piece is really clear, the emotions are drawn really well. The characters are just really fully formed, and the mix of the surreal with the very real is really good here in the illustrations. There's also elements of the book where things that are really ordinary to us have got this sort of mystical meaning to them because the meaning has changed in their own sense of history, and it's not really explained whether it's some kind of alternative universe or it's just the way history skews things and there's this new strange society. But bears are like sort of mystical beings where they're really shocked to find them later on, and they believe that they were just, the word bear was just a word for woods, like an alternative word, but then they find out there's something else going on, and all of these mysteries are all part of what's built up in this world building in these books. So the third book concludes the story, and that's the Book of Forks. So without spoiling how he gets in that situation, Castro has been separated from the other two, and this book is built around Scarpa and Vera trying to look for Castro and basically rescue him, and they have to go through the bear park, which I was sort of hinting at earlier, which is sort of a mystical, scary place, and it kind of, again, there's more world building, there's more clarification of some of the things, and Castro's writing an encyclopedia all the way through this book, and there's these encyclopedia elements as well that add to the world building. So it's a very complex vision of a world that's been created, and that's kind of fleshed out in this book a little bit more. So it's a really good conclusion, and like I said, the characterization is so strong you really care about them, even though it's quite an absurdist situation. So these three books I think are amazing. There's one of my favourite books is Alice in Wonderland, and there's a little bit of a touch of Alice in Wonderland in there with the absurd kind of situations they're in and the world building, but it's much more serious than that, and it's much more sort of mysterious as well, because you feel like it's getting to a conclusion by the end of it. So it's also really believable in a way that it really shouldn't be, but I think the way it's written and the way it's drawn and the dialogue makes it feel really real. All three books are told from the perspective of the three main characters, the three teenagers, Castro, Scarpa and Vera, and that adds to the characterization and adds to the world building as well, because you see it from their perspective. And I think that's the point of the book, that you're seeing it from a teenager's sort of vision of the world. And I think that could be part of this, the allegorical aspect of the book, that it's almost like this is what the world looks like from a teenager's point of view. So I think that's really clever and very consistent as well. And it's not like anything else I've read. I think it's a really good example of how well graphic novels can tell a story and build a completely alternative world. And like I said, those allegorical aspects are really fascinating. So if it looks interesting from the illustrations I showed and from the things I've said about the different elements of the three plots, they all come together by the end, then check out those books. It's the Book of Forks, The Motherless Oven, and The Can Opener's Daughter by Rob Davis. Thanks a lot for watching. Keep your eye on this channel for more stuff. Next time I'll be doing something about the authors I've been discovering, and I'm building up another time travel one, but I've got to read loads of books for that. But thanks for watching, and see you later.